Welcome to the Municipal Leadership Summit, a convening of the Pennsylvania Municipal League, the Pennsylvania State Association of Township Commissioners, and of course our Pennsylvania Career Chiefs Association. So welcome everyone. We're glad to have you all here in Pittsburgh.
And the home of the brave.
The Pennsylvania Municipal League is a statewide organization of municipalities, cities, boroughs, and townships from all over the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. We advocate for effective local government. So we do a lot of work in the state capitol advocating for issues that impact local governance. We also have a whole host of programs and services, including training, including a sustainability program, and we also have our own operations, of course, to operate the organization out of our headquarters in Harrisburg. This week is our annual Municipal Leadership Summit. We are partnering with the Pennsylvania State Association of Township Commissioners and the Pennsylvania Career Fire Chiefs are all meeting here during this week. We have the business of the organization. We actually have resolutions and policy that we adopt. We have our board of directors meeting, and the township commissioners have their executive committee, their leadership meeting. And we'll elect new officers for the Municipal League, and they'll be installed and through the annual business meeting that'll take place toward the end of the summit on Saturday.
Hi, I'm Governor Tom Wolf. Welcome to the Pennsylvania Municipal League Municipal Leadership Summit. And thank you to the Pennsylvania State Association of Township Commissioners and the Career Fire Chiefs for co-hosting this event. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Municipal officials do some of the hardest jobs in Pennsylvania. You are on the ground every day keeping our communities running. You get more than your share of blame when things go wrong and less credit than you deserve when things go right. I want you to know that I see you. And I thank you for everything you do for Pennsylvanians each and every day. Thank you for your advocacy, your leadership, and for your commitment to service. I hope you have a successful summit.
I was born and raised in Bradford County, one of the most rural counties in our state. And I think it's important for elected officials to hear directly from their constituents. So last year, my first year in office, I visited every one of our 67 counties. And so far this year, I've been to 59. And I'm on track to make it to everyone again by the end of the year.
Without your help the last few years, we wouldn't have been able to get some of the amazing legislation that directly benefited local governments off the ground. I appreciate that all of you there in Pennsylvania understand the importance and the value of engaging with both your colleagues at home and across the country through NLC.
What do you want the future of your community to look like? Where do you want it to go? What do you want to do to invest in your community and your people? Last year at this very conference in Lancaster, we launched a visioning exercise called Envision 2032, a look into the future, and you all responded. We asked our members to give us input and ideas. And we started with a survey, and I want to thank the Township Commissioners Association, as well as APMM, the Managers Association of Pennsylvania, and League members for all responding to the survey. The survey asked a lot of questions about the future, but we really wanted to think about where we needed to go with this strategic plan 10 years going forward. We were looking to involve League members and other officials throughout the Commonwealth in an interactive and inclusive process. We were looking at the critical issues and hoping to get promising solutions for how to go forward. We wanted to spark a new conversation about ideas and collaborations across municipal boundaries with one another, and longer range thinking than the normal crises that we might deal with on a daily basis. And so that's why we tried to capture the best practices and thinking of many of you that participated. In the survey, we looked to identify the top concerns and understand those issues as we went forward. We had 115 individuals respond in the survey, 84 municipalities, townships, boroughs, and cities throughout the Commonwealth. We had a great mix, too. We had 24% of second-class townships, 24% boroughs, 21% first class, 17 cities, and 14% home rule municipalities. And the top concerns, I don't have to tell you, but for those that might be watching or listening to this in the future, here they are. Number one on your list, aging infrastructure. Right behind it, attracting and retaining businesses and jobs and economic growth, and a long list of other issues that we all wrestle with. So what did we do? In the spring of '22, right as the pandemic was going up and down, we forged ahead and we safely held 7 forums across the Commonwealth. From Franklin to Phoenixville and Upper Providence Township, across the state, we met. And over 200 officials participated, including municipal leaders, representatives of state and regional agencies, business partners, and guests. You all presented your ideas and best practices, and you engaged in lively conversations around the table to help us go forward. And I want to thank each and every one of you that presented, and you can read all those presentations as we go forward. Let's give a hand to all the presenters for the Envision program. And we decided through the program we would have guiding principles. Several themes emerged throughout the program. Preserving local autonomy, seeking and building more collaborations and partnerships, embracing technology and modernizing, innovation, equity, and sustainability, and yes, from what we just heard from the mayor, diverse leadership. Nurturing positive working relationships between local government and the Commonwealth. And we narrowed it down, all the results, all the input from the forums, to key issues. Again, infrastructure, municipal finance, equity and civic engagement, community development, sustainability, public health and safety, and economic vitality. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to tell you today that our publication is complete, and I see you've already received it at your tables. How magical is that? Thank you, staff. You can also see the publication and lots of other resources that we're beginning to put online at the website, pml.org. And we want to make this an interactive tool for you to not just read the publication as we go forward, but to share those innovative ideas in each of these areas, to learn from one another, because that's what the League is all about, sharing ideas and successes, stealing each other's ideas and taking them home and putting them into place. So we're happy that this publication is debuting today. We're going to make sure every legislator and their staff gets a copy of the publication on your behalf. We're going to make sure the governor and his entire staff receive a copy, all the state agencies. And we're going to make sure, whatever happens with this election, that the new officials will receive a copy of the publication as well. The first thing on the list was infrastructure, and one of our respondents said, we're headed for a perfect storm. The list of infrastructure projects across our Commonwealth is long, and you all know it. Roads, bridges, transportation, public works, municipal buildings, and broadband. Amy Sturgis will be talking more about the Broadband Authority at the Commonwealth level and what we're doing to stay tuned in to that process. 84% of respondents are currently engaged in major infrastructure projects. So you didn't wait for the National Infrastructure Program to come to your town. You're already doing it, and you're going to take advantage of those dollars as long as you can. And you're working with your neighbors, something we don't hear about enough. In municipal finance, it was said mounting pressures call for bold solutions. In other words, we can't rely on the same old to help pay for public safety and all the services that you provide on a daily basis. We know we have a long way to go to educate legislators about a list of tools that you need, a menu of financial options to do what's best in your community. And tomorrow, we're going to release the report from the Pennsylvania Economy League that does just that. It's a proud, respected group in our Commonwealth, and we're happy that they worked on several case studies throughout Pennsylvania, and we'll release that report tomorrow on municipal finance. Under equity and civic engagement, I thought this was the best quote that could be stated in this topic. We get stronger by working together. Municipal leaders are placing a high value on residents taking an active role in their communities. 82% already do it. 64% are helping to build relationships and connections with people of diverse backgrounds. 63% are already embedding DEI as core principles in their community. And 59% are building awareness and understanding among residents of civic issues, back to civility, rights, and responsibilities. In community development, it certainly is all about the quality of life. And we know that affordable housing is a major issue in our communities, large and small. 66% of survey respondents reported they're either actively addressing affordable housing or planning to do so in the future. Municipalities are employing multi-pronged approaches, including eliminating or repurposing blighted properties like Mayor Lombardo and his crew in the great city of Pittston, supporting new development, revitalization that will include the overall quality of life, and expanding our tax base to the best of our ability to attract residents from various demographic spectrums. Sustainability, ensuring that our actions today lead to healthy, sustainable communities tomorrow. And it means pursuing long-term goals to create environmental, community, and financial stability. And you all know we have the Sustainable Pennsylvania program to help you along the way. But there's some terrific examples here in the report on adopting 10-year energy goals, evolving recycling approaches, building infrastructure for refueling stations, and continuing to build that green economy. Under public health and safety, we need to look at public health and safety through a fresh lens, because we know, again, the same old isn't cutting it today. Public safety, of course, is your #1 responsibility as a local official, and it is a top concern of the survey respondents. Fire, police, healthcare, mental health services have become tightly interconnected, requiring new and integrated definition and approach. Volunteer fire companies are facing a very difficult road, as we all know. We're going to have a session tomorrow that includes the future of the fire service in Pennsylvania, and I hope you'll take a few minutes to participate in that wonderful session. Partnering has become a new norm as intermunicipal government and cooperation continue. Economic vitality. We must make Pennsylvania economically competitive. If we can't agree on anything else in this state, we have to agree on that, because we need those opportunities for our residents, for our workers, for all of our people, and most certainly for our children and grandchildren. 85% said investing in economic development are planning to do so right now. And there's a long list of issues that we're digging into economically. Now, that was just a preview for you. You'll get all the details in the report and on the website. This is the beginning of our 10-year journey. And we can only do it together, and we will make progress if we stick together on those issues and more.
It's important because it represents the voices from across Pennsylvania, identifying key issues of priority for our communities, like infrastructure, fiscal sustainability, and the like. We are decades behind in deferred maintenance, and our water system in particular, as well as our wastewater systems, haven't seen significant investment in decades. And so the needs and priorities in the city of Lancaster are very similar to other communities across the state. When we are trying to provide clean drinking water and take care of the dirty water in an environmentally conscious way, it's a priority for us all.
I think the first and most important thing is that, when we talk about municipalities, often we look at things in a very short term, what's right there in front of us. And I think the beauty of Envision really is it's taking those immediate priorities and really looking at and understanding that to really solve them, it's a long-term plan. So I think that whole part of Envision, taking it out and looking at the next 10, 15, 20 years and talking about where we're going to be is important. The other thing is, as you know, the Commonwealth is an old industrial state. So we have failing infrastructure in a lot of our cities, and right now, maybe we have the perfect storm in that for the first time in a long, long time, years, we actually have some money that's available on the federal and the state level to come in. So, this is, so to speak, our one bite at the apple, really to have funding and to start to get it right. So I think that's a critical recognition by the league of a priority like infrastructure.
Bethlehem is right in the middle of the Lehigh Valley, and our economic revitalization has really come down to the idea that we've gotten local, state, federal support at really putting some dollars into our infrastructure. And part of the reason why we're seeing so much investment coming into Bethlehem and the Lehigh Valley is because of those efforts in the past, even small ones as far as infrastructure is concerned. As we look forward to what the economy is going to be throughout the state and in our region, it's really important that we find these sustainable revenue sources that are going to allow us to attract those private employers, that are going to create the jobs, that are going to help us to fund our budgets, invest in our neighborhoods, and keep our cities where people want to live.
We have infrastructure needs. My second week on the job, we had the Fern Hollow Bridge collapsed on us, and it was tragic for one, but we're blessed because no one passed away. But secondly, it let us know the importance of infrastructure and why we really need it. And I gotta give a real big shout out to President Biden. I want also a shout out to Governor Wolf for coming in and helping out with Senator Casey and Congressman Doyle. It takes a team. You know, we're going to have infrastructures, and I think that's a positive. I don't always look at it as a negative. I think we always have to upgrade our infrastructure. We have to make sure that our roads are good if we're going to get services and products to the market. We also got to make sure that our bridges are safe so that people can get one from one side, what we call the city in the mountain, from one side of the mountain to the other side of the mountain. We also have to make sure that we're investing in our transportation to ensure that we're keeping up with the latest and the greatest technology to get people to where they need to be and in a safer and being safe with it as well. So infrastructure is extremely important on multiple levels. Even in our water, we have to make sure our waterways are good. Make sure that the infrastructure in our waterways is good. Make sure that our pipes are good underneath, that our sewer systems is good. All that is infrastructure that we have to constantly invest in if we're going to continue to deliver quality service.
I come from a smaller community. We have about 6,000 residents and about a $3 million budget, and we have deteriorating culverts and roads that we need to maintain. So having a plan, and I think Envision is great because it lays out what our priorities are as municipalities, and I think putting together a plan will help all of us, because that one-time shot of money from the federal government helps short-term, but we really need to be thinking long-term. Our federal money that we got from the pandemic helps short-term, but we need to look at how we can use that long-term and set up some legacy projects to address these infrastructure needs.
Allentown is an older Pennsylvania city and has a lot of aging infrastructure, from streets to storm sewers to gas lines. A lot of the water service lines are leaded in some of the poorer parts of our city. So we have ongoing infrastructure needs. We also have modernizing infrastructure needs. So being prepared for a more mobility alternatives community is something that we need to be focused on. Things like EV chargers, those types of things that are preparing us for the next century.
In Adams County, not necessarily Gettysburg, we have some bridge issues, and something needs to be done, which I think is infrastructure, is our underwater ground system. It's kind of antiquated.
I want to thank the League for taking on the initiative of Envision 2032. I think, you know, as we look at what this does to our communities, specifically related to infrastructure and the needs that we will have over the next 10 to 15 years, we have to be focused on this. We can't kick this can down the road any longer. So, again, I appreciate the work that the League has done, and I look forward to seeing, you know, the positive impact that it's going to have on our communities. And specifically in Williamsport, we're working right now with the Army Corps of Engineers, FEMA, PEMA, our federal delegations, state, local, on our levee. So our levee after Katrina, we all had this unfunded mandate to recertify and get our levee systems accredited. And so we're working very closely on that. That's a huge infrastructure need, as is our stormwater infrastructure. We just transferred that to our sewer authority, and they're working with that, and we're working closely with them to update our stormwater infrastructure in Williamsport. And so infrastructure, obviously it's critical to all communities, and I'm glad the focus is on that.
Envision 2032, I think, is important for all of us. You know, when you look at the average age of elected officials in Pennsylvania, I'm an optimistic guy. I think the future is bright, but for a minute or two, I'm going to talk about some challenges. You know, the average age of elected officials in Pennsylvania right now is 62 years old. We have 16,000 local elected officials to make local government run in 2,500 in 60 municipalities. 16,000 local elected officials. Every 2 years there's an election, so about 8,000 are up for election every 2 years. Out of those 8,000, about 4,000 seats are empty on the ballot, or only one person running. Many, many, many people hold office that are only written in the day of the election. It's a crisis. Who's going to do our jobs when we're not there to do them? If we think local government is the best form of government, who's going to follow in our footsteps? How are we going to train them? How are we going to leave a legacy that they build upon? When we look at the needs, and if we think about our communities, most of our communities were built by our fathers and our grandfathers. You know, the investments in water and sewer and municipal buildings. And we've kicked the can down the road for so long that, you know, with the investment of the federal money and state money, you know, that can be a down payment on long-term investments for making real improvements so that our children have, you know, the quality infrastructure that we benefited from.
The local taxation study is titled It's Not 1965 Anymore, and it's really demonstrating how the local taxing structure, which was developed in the 1960s, is not keeping pace with the changes and the costs of local government services. So it is putting forth a number of taxing options that are in place in various municipalities across the Commonwealth, how we can change them slightly, remove caps, allow more flexibility, allow municipalities to use some taxing measures that some have and others don't. And so we're not looking for anything new in the way of taxes. We're looking at proven taxation that has helped municipalities, and it would be a way to prevent fiscal distress, not wait until communities are fiscally distressed to give them more taxing options. We also need to address a long-standing issue for us, the local use of radar. We still have not been able to get that through the General Assembly. We need to reevaluate our strategy and hopefully continue to work with our other local government partners to figure out a way forward and to make it happen in the new year. The radar technology is becoming obsolete, or the non-radar technology is becoming obsolete, and municipalities will be soon left with only a stopwatch to regulate speeding on local roads. It's a very big public safety issue, and we need to figure it out.
A lot of the issues that we see are in residential neighborhoods where setting up VASCAR is not really an option because of sight distance issues. So the need for radar for our municipal police officers so that they can effectively do their jobs in these residential neighborhoods where the speed limits is just 25 miles an hour is really important. And we keep seeing radar pass through the Senate and then it gets to the House and really stalls out there. So I'm hopeful that we will eventually get that bill ran in the House someday, but until then we're just going to keep doing what we can do and advocating for it and speaking out to our House members about the importance of it.
So speeding in my community is probably the number one complaint that I receive. I'm the township manager. And our roads are predominantly neighborhood roads. They're local roads with a 25 mile per hour speed limit. We contract with State College Police to do our policing. It's virtually impossible to do speed timing with the current technology they're permitted to use on our local roads. So we're never getting any inroads into how we address speeding. And if we had the local use of radar and we had that tool, we could finally address the speeding concerns within our community. And we've been been willing to put up signs. We've been willing to have the caps on the amount of revenue that you can generate from it. We'll do whatever we can just to have that tool.
We would love for our local police force to be able to use radar to control speed. There is absolutely a speeding problem. We see it everywhere. It's quite universal. People are running red lights. It would be nice to be able to just know that those red lights in our corridors are controlled and speeds are reduced, because that makes things safer for everybody.
One of the biggest challenges that my administration faces is increasing pedestrian safety. And if we were able to use radar with our local police department, we'd believe that we'd be able to slow down traffic and save lives.
Making sure that we have all of the tools in the local level that will allow our police departments the opportunity to keep our neighborhood safe is of the utmost importance, and radar is one of those priorities.
That's a priority for me as a city that has a full-time police and fire department, and then we have 2 other collective bargaining units. It's really important. And first and foremost, let's not muddy the waters. We all recognize that public safety is of grave importance, and we all want to fund that. But we also have a fiduciary responsibility to our taxpayers to fund it at a level that's affordable and reasonable. It's no different than you and I running our home budgets. That we've got to be mindful of that. And there are probably times that, we recognize that police and fire, let's use them as an example, put themselves in harm's way almost every day, if not multiple times every day. So when we sit down and bargain, it's not to diminish that risk, but it's the reality of what can we actually afford. So, I'm hoping to be able to work on that. We're going to have some changes in Harrisburg from the top down, and I think it's something that collectively, when I look around the table today and I see a bunch of mayors and other representatives of communities, it's one of the values of being able to get together at the League. And, Pittston is a small place, so my voice, and although I can be very loud, it's not as loud as the collective voice of all of us around the table. So I think, for me coming in as president this year, that will be one of the areas that we look at trying to formulate some strategies and make a priority.
Well, collective bargaining is something that we take very seriously. We rely so much on our public safety partners in fire and police, as well as our AFSCME partners. And what I would say about collective bargaining is that we need to update the laws to more equitably address the financial considerations of cities, as well as meet the needs of the folks that do that work every day.
Listen to the employees who are funding your pension program. Also, follow the law. One of the things, and I mentioned it inside, one of the things that municipalities and cities must do is to continue to fund their pension plans. They have a legal obligation and requirement. And if you don't fund your pension plans, then it's going to be on the backs of the employees to fund it.
We need to look at a realistic model. We've always operated historically for as long as I can remember, and I've been at it for over 20-some years now, on this idea that we're going to get 7% returns. And we have a whole model built around that, and it's really a model that's, it's not a realistic model. And the last couple of years, we've had some great financial gains in the market, and, there are times we've hit that point, and there's times we've not. And now as we move into a little bit more of an unstable economic time, we can continue to operate in a financially responsible way, but there are other sort of external factors that we have no control over. So I think that there really needs to be a look at reform in terms of pensions and how do we do it. And it really is something that Harrisburg needs to help us with. We need to do it all of the same so the playing field is level, so it makes sense, because if we don't, it just becomes really ammunition to sort of ping pong ball back and forth to the bad habits of the past.
There's a lot to say about public safety pensions. First of all, the most important thing is that we honor the commitments that we've made to the men and women who have served our communities in the past and currently. That's top priority, but to do that in a way that recognizes the fiscal impacts on small communities. And so really the answer to that question is to have a lot more flexibility in how we raise revenues. We cannot continue to only rely on property taxes.
We need to be a more welcoming state. Everybody here is beautiful. I love the diversity I see in this room. That's hope. I tell people all the time, if the only thing I understood in my life was African American, how shallow would I be? In order to be more welcoming, I have to have a diversity of everything. When I walked in the office, I told everybody my first day, this will be the most diverse mayor's office in the city of Pittsburgh. We got black, white, Latina, straight, LGBTQIA. We brought everybody together because a more diverse background, a more diverse voice gives me choices to help us build a city that is more welcoming and inviting to everybody. When I'm done, let this city be attractive.
My message today was equity and inclusion and 21st century public service. And what that means is right now, how we need to serve our human capital and our humans of PA and in our country in general is that our leadership needs to shift. And if we shift our leadership from 20th century leadership practice to 21st century leadership practice, we will be doing better for our equity and inclusion outcomes and the health needs of our humans in Pennsylvania who are vulnerable in a number of ways. We know organizations that represent and maximize their diverse population actually meet their outcomes, meet their goals, because they're bringing in more innovation, they're bringing in more minds, right? It's not just about visual diversity, it's about what is the diversity of thought, the intellect, and what are we bringing in so that we have a more innovative and impactful future, right? Right now we know the humans of Pennsylvania and of the state, and of the country are growing faster than we even know. So how are we serving and making our service delivery something that is impactful for the future?
That initiative is that I created the Office of DEI, which is Diversion, Equity, and Inclusion, and I've hired a Chief Equity Officer for that purpose. And it needs to focus on the inability for individuals who have not had access to fair share in the jobs and the salaries in the city of Harrisburg.
Mayor Williams and the administration has undertaken creating the Office of Equity and Compliance. What this allows is for there to be intentional equity wherever public dollars are being spent within the city of Harrisburg, in particular with regards to minority-owned and controlled businesses, helping them not only access city contracts through the RFP process, et cetera, but also building capacity in the process. We hope to serve as a model for other municipalities to look to when we're dealing with public funding, building capacity amongst minority women-owned and controlled businesses, and ensuring that those public dollars are, in essence, remaining in the community while simultaneously building up those said businesses within the community.
What I want to talk about today is some things that I've seen in our department that affect municipalities, government agencies, and things like that. So I'm not going to talk about every single fraud out there, like card fraud or is Venmo fraud, Zelle fraud, things like that. I'm going to talk about the things that I've seen that happen in your world. So, first one is business email compromise. Business email compromise, we've been tracking cases since 2015. I've probably tracked 3,000 cases in that time. Business email compromise, in a couple sentences, is manipulating somebody within an organization to think that they are talking with somebody else in their organization who has the authority to send payments, and then that person sends those unauthorized payments to a fraudster. See it all the time. I see it every single day. Happens a lot with municipalities as well. And it's large ones. It could be the City of Pittsburgh, or it could be Bear Lake or Carbondale, Pennsylvania. Fraudsters know that there's money out there, and they go after it. They don't care how big, they don't care how small. $30,000 is great to them, and so is $3 million. But they're after all of it. I'm going to show you some examples of some small dollars that they go after as well. So business email compromise really started out with what I call spoofing. My email address is lbalcom@mtb.com. If you take an R and an N and put them next to each other, that looks like an M. So now a fraudster could take my email address and make lbalcom@rntb, make that their own domain. Somebody might get an email from me, it's really from the fraudster, but they think they're talking to me. So that's one way that they do it. So how could they change your email domains? What could they do? Now, yeah, I understand. When I get an email, I don't look that it says Josh Hinkle, at whatever. I look that says just Josh Hinkle. So, but it's, again, it's just one way. Fraudsters are not stupid. They're very intelligent. They have evolved business email compromise into computer and email intrusions. So they will take advantage, get inside your computer, and I'll talk about how in a little bit. Get inside your computer, they'll sit and they'll watch, and they study. They know that your department sends out invoices between the amounts of $30,000 and $300,000. Okay, you don't send anything out $500, $5,000. You don't do anything over $300,000. They know that your name is Steve and you go by Steven, or that your name is Steven and you go by Steve. They know if you're emailing with your wife from that email domain. They know that, or your spouse or whatever. They know that what you had for dinner last night if you're communicating those things. They study, they watch. They don't get that malware in there and then act tomorrow. They see what they can do. So they will act and they will pretend to be a vendor. One of your vendors, because remember, they're in your email, they know who you do business with. They're going to say, hey, this is ABC Company, here's our latest invoice. By the way, we changed our banking information. We no longer bank with Chase Bank, we're now with Citibank. Here's our accounting number, here's our account number and our routing number. Please send the invoice here. You send the invoice there, what happens? 45 days go by, you get a call from that vendor saying, hey, where's our invoice, where's the payment for $45,000 for invoice 12345? Well, we paid that on this day. We never got it. And you track it back, the fraudster had successfully engineered or manipulated you into changing the payment instructions. Used to target large corporations. Why? They have the most money. Why not? But fraudsters also figured out that large corporations normally have better security. Okay, so now they target smaller. So smaller municipalities, smaller businesses. They target individuals. We see the number one category of business that we see in business email compromise is real estate. They're starting to manipulate people who are selling their homes into sending payments somewhere else. So a perfect example, we had people in Western New York moving to Florida, selling their house, sent $201,000 to a fraudster, canceled their retirement. Okay, this is one we see all the time, especially we used to call this university and municipality scam, but now I see it everywhere. Fraudsters will manipulate or get inside one of your employees' email addresses and send an email to your payroll department saying, I'm changing my direct deposit. My direct deposit is now going to this bank. So whether, you might be missing $400, you might be missing, $5,000. We see this all the time. We used to see 3, 4, 6 cases a year. Now we see 3, 4, 6 cases a month. These are the ones who tell us about it. Those funds move fast, by the way. And in all these instances, fraudsters move the money fast. So if you tell us that you've been a part of you've been a victim or even a target of a business email compromise scam, and the money was sent, if we're involved, quickly we can help get the money back by working with the other bank, signing some legal paperwork, different things like that. But as days go by, less and less chance to get the funds back. Okay. Check fraud. So I want to talk business email compromise. The next one is check fraud. I know municipalities still have to send a lot of checks. We are seeing story after story, example after example, where fraudsters are robbing mailboxes, even beating up mail carriers to steal. And what they're doing is they're getting checks. They're stealing checks. They're washing those checks, and they're washing that check, and instead of the signer, the payer, the payable person is going to be ABC Company. Now it's going to be Lee Balcom. And I'm going to cash that check. That money's never going to get to your vendors. I see this all the time. Check fraud is rampant. And you would think everybody uses faster payments, ACH, Wire, Zelle, Venmo, etc. Checks are still the number one in terms of quantity of fraud that we see in the bank. Ransomware is the third one that I want to talk about. Ransomware is nasty, it's dirty, and it's extremely expensive. It's not just expensive if, let me back up. The way ransomware works is fraudster will get into your computer or your network, your computer network, and lock up all your files. So you can't send anything out, you can't transact, you can't do anything, can't send an email. They'll send you something on the screen that says, you have been, you're targeted, or we want 10 Bitcoin by this date. If you don't pay us 10 Bitcoin, then we will destroy your files, right? Now you can negotiate with them. There are even companies that you can hire to negotiate. But think about it. If you are a victim of ransomware, not only are you possibly out the ransom, if you choose to pay it, law enforcement recommends that you do not. Now whether you do, that's your choice. But let's just say that for the sake of this conversation, it's $100,000. How much is it going to cost you? Think about all your municipalities. How much is it going to cost you to fix all your computers, replace all your computers and fix your entire network.
We are here showcasing an autonomous vehicle that has been developed at Carnegie Mellon University quite some time back now. Carnegie Mellon University is a birthplace of autonomous vehicle technology dating back literally to 1983. And the next big milestone that happened was in 2007 when the Department of Defense had a competition for autonomous vehicles, and the team from CMU, our team, actually won that competition, a $2 million prize. And that competition in turn was the one that literally triggered and created the autonomous vehicle industry that we know today, with tens of billions of dollars having been spent.
What does this mean for Pennsylvania?
It means a lot to Pennsylvania, given that the technology was born right here in the state of Pennsylvania, and the market for autonomy is going to be in the trillions of US dollars, with a T in there, per year, the 2040s, if you will. We want to retain a good chunk of that right here in our state.
What about the issue of safety?
Safety is absolutely crucial. The technology has to be safe for the technology to be adopted and be successful commercially.
What is your message for municipal officials?
The municipal officials, you have to walk this fine line between public safety and allowing the technology to be tested on public roads and highways, but you do want to take that lead going forward. Otherwise, some other region, some other continent, some other country will take that leadership away from us where it belongs.
Business Leaders Network is a great group of business partners. They have municipal finance folks called PFM, Public Financial Management. We have names you would recognize like Comcast and Verizon and AT&T, and a whole bunch of lawyers and other business providers that provide services to local government. Every one of them has a solution that they offer to help local governments save money and operate more efficiently.
Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield is a member of the Business Leaders Network of the Municipal League. It's an invaluable benefit to us as a company in Pennsylvania. We get access to many of the municipal leaders across Pennsylvania.
Our organization has been members of the Business Leaders Network for over 10 years. It's been a great value to us here. It really allows us to network with local elected and appointed officials and really learn about the issues that are facing their communities. Our Business Leaders Network session is about how us at HomeServe can help municipalities across the state address aging water and sewer infrastructure and different solutions that we can provide. Here at HomeServe, we administer the National League of Cities Service Line program. So we partner with municipalities to make our program available to the residents, which would help them to protect their external water lines, sewer lines, and in-home plumbing. We do this at no cost to a municipality, so a municipality helps to educate their residents that these lines are their responsibility, because no one knows that until they have the issue, all while making this optional protection available to them.
Comcast has been a member of the Business Leaders Network for a number of years, and we've been really excited about that because we've had a chance to partner and talk to the folks on the ground who are actually doing the work. And so it's been a great opportunity to knowledge share, to learn about the issues, and also share out what we've been seeing on our end. The topic of our Business Leaders Network session is on digital equity. Digital equity is really important to Comcast. We've pledged through our Project Up initiative $1 billion to really help bridge the digital divide in our communities across the nation.
Our company has been a Business Leaders Network member for in excess of a decade. We see a lot of value from increased access to the membership of the Municipal League and them having a great understanding of our products and services. The topic of our Business Leaders Network session today is the Municipal Utility Alliance and how it can help your community with your energy costs. It's really important, as we see a lot of volatility in energy costs, that you're focused on the program from the Municipal League that can help to level those costs and budget for the future.
Our company has been a member of the Business Leaders Network actually for more years than I can recall, and I've been with AT&T for a decade now. It's a long-standing relationship, and really it's been of great value, not only in the networking sense, but where you get to know folks in the business community and you get to help demonstrate what AT&T can do. But it's also been valuable in that sense that you get a real vibe and a real feel for what's happening in your communities, because these people, not only are they business leaders, they're community leaders, they're mothers, they're fathers, and when you understand the needs of a community and how you can address it from a corporate standpoint, it makes your job a lot easier, and it makes it easier for you to do more meaningful work. So it's been invaluable to be a part of this, and it looks to me as if something that we will continue to do for many years to come. The topic of our business leader session today is FirstNet. And for anybody that doesn't know, FirstNet is a dedicated service, a dedicated network to first responders. And we live in a time where a lot of people don't agree on a lot of things anymore politically. After 9/11, there was the 9/11 report. And one of the recommendations that the 9/11 report made was creating a network where first responders could communicate with one another at a priority level, as big of an area as we needed to cover. If you recall, in 9/11, there was so much cross-traffic, and it was so hard for folks to talk to one another. This is one of the last things we all agreed on. And FirstNet is proud and happy. AT&T is proud and happy to be the FirstNet company for this country and to make this happen. And really, it's about public safety. We're dedicated to it, and the FirstNet has been a wild success. And I would tell you that if you're a community and your emergency services and folks are not part of FirstNet, they really should be, because as we all know, bad things happen, and we need to be ready.
It's Municipal Benefit Services. My name is Michael Boyd. I'm the Executive Director for the Trust, and we've been a member of the League for 3 or 4 years now.
What kind of response have you had?
A good response. I'm not as active as some of the members of my team with the League, but a lot of great feedback, a lot of good connections, and a lot of good relationships because of that. The topic that we're speaking about today with the Business Leaders Network today is the impact of inflation on healthcare costs. Just to be prepared for the next couple of years, because the impact of inflation has yet to hit on healthcare costs. So we're expecting the next 2 or 3 years to be a lot tougher than what it has been when managing those costs for municipalities.
Government Finance Solutions. We're a member of the Business Leader Network, and we would definitely recommend being a member of this network in the future.
What kind of response have you had so far?
Very good response. We had a great talk today, and we're looking forward to talking with some more people at our booth.
What kind of response have you had in the exhibition hall?
Great. A lot of people passing through, a lot of interest, and a lot of great conversations.
Would you recommend this to other companies, and if so, why?
I would definitely recommend it to other companies. It's a great opportunity to build relationships. It's a great opportunity to hear very good conversation about what people's challenges are, and then we can use that to help develop solutions for the future.
The name of our organization is Pennsylvania State Association of Township Commissioners. And we're divided, there's 3 sections of it, East, West, and Central. And every year we rotate presidents. And this year the president of PSATC is from the East. I'm from Upper Moreland, Montgomery County. And I'm here to bring my year to an end. And tonight we're going to approve a new president for Pennsylvania State Association of Township Commissioners. One of the biggest issues is our local use of radar. Every state in the country has radar except for Pennsylvania. We're passionate about trying to get this across the board, and we're just having problems getting it pushed out of committee. Township government is financially going to be struggling in 2040. With the cost of your public health and safety, your police department, your fire companies, a lot of municipalities are now going to paid staff because the volunteers just aren't there anymore. So there's a lot of issues that come up with PSATC, and our job is to try to be advocates for first-class townships so that the state and local government, or state and federal governments don't put unfunded mandates onto local municipalities that we haven't budgeted for.
My goal is just to keep us going in the right direction that we're already going, and to always, there's always room for improvement, that all of our past presidents do a great job, and I'm going to continue the forefront of what they have started and just keep us in the right direction and get a positive message. with all of us working together collaboratively, that we're in a very diverse world, and we're going to keep it going in that direction. We all work together well, and we're going to continue that path.
Local government is probably the most important for the residents. Townships govern everyday lives of the people that reside there. We try to make the community a better place for each. We try to have rules and regulations that we put in place so every neighbor takes care of their property, enjoys their free space, and we work together to make it a nice community.
For the Pennsylvania Career Fire Chiefs Association, we represent over 100 career and combination fire chiefs throughout the state. Our main mission is to bridge that gap between legislators and also keep up with the everyday happenings that can directly affect our organization.
What are some of the biggest issues facing career fire chiefs across the Commonwealth?
Right now, recruitment and retention, staffing, funding is another big thing. We just want to make sure that our people are protected as well while they're out on the scene. Yeah, so our partnership goes back many years with the Pennsylvania Municipal League. We have a great working relationship on many legislative items. We go back and forth with communications throughout the year on that, and we always coincide our meeting, our career chiefs meeting, with the PML Summit.
In January, we put together a new organization or structure for the Municipal League, and we have 3 wonderful deputy executive directors leading those areas: advocacy, membership, and operation. In advocacy, we actually do our best to lobby on behalf of local government. We work to educate legislators, their staff, the governor, and their administration on top priority issues that our members have outlined. They're going to do that as a part of this process through their resolutions. And then we get to membership, of course. We are a membership organization. So we have 127 members. That's the largest number of municipalities that have joined the league in the history of the organization, so we're very proud of that. And then it's our job to help service those members, to make sure we're doing everything we can to provide them with information and resources, training and programs that are going to help them on a daily basis. And regarding operations, that simply means our own internal operations, including finance, technology, and communications.
I'm Amy Sturgis. I'm the Deputy Executive Director for Advocacy. And our advocacy department works on a daily basis with the legislature and our members to make sure that our members' voices are heard in Harrisburg and in DC.
My name is Abe Amoros, and I'm the Deputy Executive Director for Operations for the Pennsylvania Municipal League.
Tell us, what does that entail?
That entails 4 departments: finance, communications, 2 insurance trusts, Penn Prime and Penn Prime Workers' Comp, as well as information and technology. And I'm also tasked with a diversity, equity, and inclusion initiative.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Harry Crott, and I serve as the Deputy Executive Director for Membership, which also includes training. Areas of responsibility are membership, first and foremost, and all of the great programming and business programs that we offer you at the League.
We're having a special fundraising auction to benefit the Shetler Center for Municipal Development. It is our 501c3 nonprofit association dedicated to perpetuating training for local officials all over the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Hi, I'm Abe Amoros, Deputy Executive Director for Operations for the Pennsylvania Municipal League. Tonight we're raising money for a very special cause, the Shetler Center, which provides necessary training for our elected and appointed officials throughout Pennsylvania. And even though I'm dressed in period clothing and we're having a wonderful time tonight, the serious matter is at hand, where we are auctioning off items that are right behind me for the betterment of the Shetler Center.
We renamed the center last year in honor of our Executive Director Emeritus, Richard Shetler, and we think it's a great honor for him, and I know he was very pleased to receive that recognition last year. And we continue to raise money toward an endowment
to establish the center going forward, where there would be funding available for foundations and matching grants, to continue municipal officials training, and to continue to provide publications and other resources for local governments throughout the state.
Local government is the backbone of our nation. As Tip O'Neill said, all politics are local, local, local. It's the local people who really resonate and bring out concerns and usually are really involved with their government, coming to meetings, writing, and that. And I mean, I don't mean to negate anybody's role because we're all American citizens, but I think on a local level we're closer and we can work more closely together, or at least know each other's differences.
We plow your streets and keep them open and provide the police and fire services, and so we're directly engaged with people.
Local government is very, very important because it gives you an opportunity to interact with other mayors and commissioners and township personnel to find out what's going on in their city. And that information is very important because that could be crucial to what you're doing in your city.
Local government is, where people see the biggest impact in their day-to-day lives. So, local government is not as flashy as the state and federal levels, but in my opinion, it's the most crucial. We get things done on the ground. We're out there plowing streets, paving roads, providing safety to our citizens in the form of police and fire protection. So local government is very important, and I'm just happy to be a part of it, happy to be a part of the league.
Everything trickles down to local government. I tell people all the time, at the local level, you can interact with us much more easily. You can see us, you can come into our offices. We're just everything that happens at the state and federal level is going to impact and maybe arguably have more of an impact at the local level. And so when folks are working with their local elected officials or appointed officials, it's critical that you stay in contact, you know what's going on, you're making sure that they're transparent to the community to keep in touch with the residents and with the stakeholders and the communities across the Commonwealth.
We do have speeding problems. We're not allowed to have radar. The state won't allow us to have it because we're a borough. And so we do have a system that the officers can use to use like a radar system, kind of. And, they give them a little leeway on the speeds, but we are enforcing, speeding. That's an issue everywhere.
Local government meets your needs every day. You may not be paying very much attention to it or think about it much, but when you turn on your faucet, when the trash gets picked up, when the snow gets plowed, that's your local government at work. And we need our communities to support and participate. And I'm really proud to be in the city of Lancaster as mayor, where we just have a really great and engaged community who is helping us do our work every day.
It's where the rubber meets the road. I mean, I don't want to diminish what happens in Harrisburg because that's critically important. I don't want to diminish what happens in Washington, but what happens at the local level is directly impacting you every day. If we don't get garbage collection right, garbage is left on the street. As we move into the shoulder of the winter season, if we don't clear your streets, you don't get to the important places you need to be. So, local government is where it's at. It's what I love about it. It's where you can see immediate change. It's where you can really leave a council meeting and see the actions of resolutions and ordinances take effect in the next day and the next week. You don't always get that at the upper level. And again, it's not to diminish what happens there, but local government is where the direct service comes. It touches the people most directly. That's why it's called local.
Well, we'd like everybody to remember that we all focus on the federal elections, the president, the United States senator, oftentimes, of course, this year, the governor's race here in Pennsylvania, and those are all critically important to our communities. But what's really important are the people that make things go on a daily basis. The mayors, the township commissioners, the township supervisors, the municipal managers and their staff. These are the people that day to day make sure your community is safe, make sure you have the services you need for sewer and water and all the other public works, playgrounds and parks and recreation. Every piece of that municipal operation that affects our daily lives. And that's why it's important for folks to pay attention to local government, because that's really where the rubber meets the road.
How can people get more information?
Well, they can always visit our website, pml.org. There's lots of information there. And of course, as citizens, they can plug into their local government. They might want to serve, to volunteer on a board, authority, or a commission. Local governments are always looking for good people to be part of the process, and not just come to a meeting once in a while, but actually get engaged in the issues that affect them every day.